The recent song Mr. Herandi by the fantastic band Holiday Ghosts is a psalm of lament. It doesn't address the Lord, but it sounds like a psalm of lament, and it's very clever in using biblical imagery and thinking around cleanliness. The basic gist of this song is complaining to Mr. Herandi. He's the landlord. Well, they're not complaining directly to him, they're complaining about him. And they're saying, why is he living the high life in Spain and not doing anything about the house that we live in, which is falling to pieces? It has bed bugs. The shower hardly works. It's a nightmare. And at the end of the song, they sing, I feel filthy. They feel filthy in what they're living in. And the Bible addresses cleanliness a lot. There's many commandments, especially in the Old Testament, about keeping clean. And this was important because it's all about basic hygiene. Ancient Israelites knew that if you were dirty, that would lead to sickness, suffering, it could lead to death. So all the commandments and rules in the Old Testament about keeping yourself clean is all about saving yourself from that. It's all about life and being saved from death. And so to enter the temple to worship, you had to make sure you were clean. You could wash yourself before entering the temple. And because it was a place of life, the ultimate place of life, and thus the ultimate place of cleanliness. So the song recognizes that, but then goes deeper because it says that actually Mr. Herandi, Mr. Herandi, he, living the high life, relaxing in Spain and never doing his rounds and looking after his tenants and their accommodation, he's actually the filthy man. They're identifying that there's a greater filthiness than the physical filthiness that they feel living in his rented accommodation. And this idea of filthiness, that spiritual filthiness, that moral filthiness, comes straight out of the Bible. There's some brilliant quotes from the Bible about this. The Bible identifying, okay, so you can be really good at keeping yourself physically clean. But what about morally clean? What about spiritually clean? And it says that's the biggest filthiness, that's the biggest problem. They're the biggest ways in which you can enter into sickness and suffering and death. That's the biggest way in which you're turning from life. So here's just a few of those quotes. Ecclesiasticus 22, the idler is like the filth of dunghills. Proverbs 30, there are those who are pure in their own eyes, yet are not cleansed of their filthiness. Sounds like the landlord. Here we go. Jesus in Matthew saying to the Pharisees, who are very good at keeping themselves clean when they worshipped in the temple, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, which on the outside look beautiful, but inside they are full of the bones of the dead and of all kinds of filth. So I've put the link to the song in the description below. It's a fantastic song, and I hope that the landlord listens to it, and as he does so, heeds Leviticus 16. From this day, atonement shall be made from you to cleanse you from all your sins. You'll be clean before the Lord. So it's not about just physical cleanliness, but getting rid of that spiritual dirtiness. So that's seeing sin as something that brings suffering and death, and it's seeing sin, darkness, as something that does not belong on the person. It should not be there. It doesn't belong on this landlord. It's like a parasite thing on the landlord, which he needs to wash away from himself. That's the thinking there. Goodbye.